It's Tuesday, February the 3rd, and as you can see behind me, we're still dealing with the snow apocalypse of 2026. This essentially blew in here January the 23rd, and today's the 3rd of February, and we've still got a lot of snow and ice laying around, but we are happy that it is up to 41 degrees today, and everything is starting to melt. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to do a review on my Trek Verve and talk a little bit about the bike itself, how I like it, how it served me, and some of the accessories that I've put on the bike, some of the things I've changed and why. So stand by and we'll get to it. Well, it's 41 degrees today, like I said when I was outside. It's warming up, but it's still not warm enough to get out there and ride. We have a lot of snow and ice still laying around out here in the country, and not going to get out there today, but I've been planning for the spring, trying to decide where I want to go on my first long ride. It's going to be a rail trail. I don't know where yet. That's a work in progress. I'm researching and studying now. Be that as it may, I want to talk about my Trek Verve, and why I chose the Trek Verve, and how I came about finding the Trek Verve. As I've told you before, and as everybody watches this channel knows, I'm disabled. I have several injuries. Joint injuries are one of the biggest ones that I've sustained over the years. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to ride a regular mountain bike or a road bike, or any bike that's hunched over, say in the 45-degree angle. I had a really nice Bianchi hybrid bike that I had bought. It was 58 or 60 centimeter, I think, tall. It had 700C by 38 millimeter tires on it. It was not very good for gravel, and it was very tall. When I say tall, the top tube would come out and come pretty much straight across, so it would keep me in a hunched over 45-degree type angle, more so than upright. Well, the problem being is when I went to step over the bike to get on, it was much more difficult for me because I don't have the dexterity that I once had. And a lot of people are like that when they start getting up in age, even if you're not suffering with some type of a disability. So my dad passed away in January of 2025, so I wasn't able to do a whole lot of research prior to that because I've been taking care of him for a number of years. So I would casually ride as I could, and then after he passed away, I started getting back into biking like my doctor had recommended that I do. And so I started the research. I started in February of 2025, and I looked at all different kinds of bikes. I've had all different kinds of bikes in my lifetime. I've had mountain bikes, I've had road bikes, I've had hybrid bikes, I've had long wheelbase recumbents, I've had crank forward recumbents. They're a whole new challenge all on their own. The logistics of hauling them somewhere, a recumbent that is, it can be difficult, very difficult. And they're very heavy in the rear. A lot of you don't have a lot of weight on the front end, so they'll slide out from underneath of you. So I started looking, and I was attracted to the Trek Verve. So I called around, and where I live, over on the eastern coastal plain of Virginia, I have to drive a minimum of 50 miles to get to a bike shop. So I started calling all of the ones in my local area, and then I say local, within 100 miles. And I couldn't find a Trek Verve. Nobody had one. Oh, we can get one, but we don't know when. So I had in mind what I wanted in a Verve, and that was the Trek Verve 1, and I'll explain why that is here in just a minute. But I finally found a Trek Verve 1 in Gambrels, Maryland. So I went up to Gambrels, Maryland, to the bike doctor in Gambrels, Maryland, and they had one. They had two, and they had this one, which was a gray, and I think they had a blue one. But I got to ride it, and I really liked it. I found it was comfortable. And the reason being is because this top tube slopes down. It's a more upright bike than any of the other ones I've had. But I still like to ride at about a 60-degree lean. So I love the bike. And so I got it. And it's a 2023 model. And they had it in stock, and for whatever reason, they had not been able to sell those two. I couldn't find one anywhere else, but I could found two up there. So I opted to get the gray one. And I'll tell you a little bit about the bike. The bike is an Alpha Gold aluminum frame. All of them are. The Trek Verve 1, 2, and 3 all have the same frame, except for one difference on the Trek Verve 1. The Trek Verve 1 has a steel front fork rather than aluminum. I wanted the steel front fork because I think steel is much more forgiving and flexes more than aluminum does. And in my past experience, I found that that just worked better for me. It's easier on my hands. I did not want a suspended bike. I don't like front suspension bikes. Not for the type of riding that I do. It's just too much maintenance and too much headache for me. I did not want anything suspended, so this bike was perfect. Now, if you prefer the aluminum fork, go for it. The other thing I really liked about this particular model, and I'll show the chain rings. This is a double chain ring, which means it has a 30-tooth inner ring, which is for climbing. I use that most of the time. And on the outside, it has a 42-tooth chain ring. In the rear, this is an 8-speed cassette, which goes from 11 teeth, which is what you get your speed out of, to a 32-tooth, which is what you use for your climbing. In the rear, it has the Shimano Altus derailleur. I mean, we could go into that. These work fine. I've never had any trouble out of them. And of course, the front derailleur, which is not used very often. The other thing that really attracted me to this bike, and I'll move it and slip over and show you, is the mechanical disc brakes. I found to be more suitable for my needs. As you can see, it's actuated by a cable, and it's not hydraulic. The reason I like that is because of the simplicity. And while I'm down here, you have a mount built into the frame that you could screw a kickstand into it. I went ahead and got that when I bought the bike because I'm just one of those people that likes kickstands. The rack that's on here, I purchased over in West Virginia when I did the Greenbrier Rail Trail. I had one on it prior to this one that I bought off of the major online distributor of various items, and it didn't hold up. It collapsed. Down here it had collapsed. So I went ahead and bought one. This one can hold up to 70 pounds. And when I put my panniers on here, I don't put anywhere near that kind of weight on there, but I do like to have something that's pretty durable. What else can I tell you about the bike? I did put a mirror on. This is a mirror that you can buy at any bike shop. You can turn it up to set up like this, or you can turn it down. Now I chose to turn mine down because I kept hanging it on things when I would move the bike around, and this works really well for me. And of course, the front of the bike, I have a Walmart light. I bought at Walmart. This is an aluminum body. It works really well. You can take it out of the mount and use it for a flashlight when you're camping. It has different functions. I didn't pay very much for that, and it's worked great. It takes AAA batteries. The other thing that was changed on the bike relatively quickly was the tires. These are Bontrager 700C by 42 gravel tires. They're a much harder case than what came on the bike, which I had no problem with what came on the bike. The bike came with 700C by 45 tires, and I'll show you those. These are also Bontrager. It's the H5 Comp Bontrager, which is 700C by 45. There's what your treads look like. Now the reason I changed those tires, it's not because I had any intention of setting out to change them, but about 2 weeks after I bought the bike, and I bought it June of 2025, the rear tire separated, and I'll insert a picture of that. It had separated and split. So I called the Trek dealer in Williamsburg, Virginia. You can take a Trek bike to any Trek dealer. So I took it back to them, and they warranted the tire for me. And I told the young lady that was working there the type of riding that I do, and she recommended the gravel tires, and they've been great. They're a little bit narrower than the stock tires, but they've been awesome, and they're great for the type of riding I do. The stock tires are a little bit have a little bit softer case, and these tires are much more durable for the type of riding that I do. I've been through some trial and error with setting the bike up, with getting my seat height correct and getting my setback on my saddle correct. And the reason that is because of my flexibility. With the debilitating injuries that I have, I don't have the dexterity or the flexibility that I used to have. And you have to take all that into consideration when you set your bike up. Hence why I bought the Trek Verve. And I would love to have a 25-30 degree angle in my knee or leg extension. They're saying now you can even go out to like 38 degree would be the ultimate. But it just doesn't work for me. I don't have the ability to flex like I used to because of the injuries, particularly in the ankles. And to that end, if I can find what I did with them, I changed the pedals on the bike. These are the stock pedals that come on the bike. And I'll put it here where you can see. I ended up putting Rock Brothers flat pedals on it, which are very much wider and longer than the stock pedals, because I have big feet, and these large platform pedals really work well for me. That gray bottle cage, that's a new one. I bought that. Of course, I had the other cages here, but you do have the ability to put 2 water bottle cages on the bike. And when I come up here to the front of the bike, I've replaced the plastic inserts, or they're not screws, they're just little plugs they have in the frame. But these are threaded hex bolts I put in there. And when I go on the bike journey, I will put bottle cages up here to take extra water on each side. And of course, you could put front-mounted racks on it if you wanted. You could put fenders. This bike is very adaptable. I mean, this bike is really adaptable. I find that it works really well for just about anything you want to do. I do have a set of panniers that go on the back. I do have a front handlebar bag. The trunk bag that's currently on it, I bought that from that major online distributor of things, and it has not held up very well. So I'm going to be getting a new one. I don't take that with me when I go on my rail trail rides because it gets in the way. I like to set my sleeping pad and bag on top of the rack more so than having that trunk bag. I just find it gets in the way. But the panniers work fine on this bike. The ones I have, I may get some that are a little bit bigger. But if you get something a little bigger, you're just going to fill it up. So I'll probably stick with what I have. I'm kind of cheap. I don't like to spend a lot of money when I don't have to. I do have a rear light on the bike. The rear light is a Walmart special. And it takes 2032 flat batteries. It takes 2 of them. That's how I normally use it when I'm riding. Very cheap. You don't need anything really expensive. Don't let people sell you lights that cost $100. Yeah, they may work great, but you don't need them. I mean, we rode years and years ago and didn't have them. We just used things like this. This is a reflector, rear reflector hardware mounting kit. The reflector would go here. I take that and bolt it onto my seat tube where it intersects with the frame. That way I always know what my seat tube needs to be set at should I have to take this out. So I have it marked with a marker, but I find this works really well to do that. The other things that I've changed on the bike, well, the only other thing I've really changed on the bike is the saddle. This is the original saddle that comes on the Trek Verve. It's okay. It's not great. It's not very comfortable in my opinion, not for me. But it does have a lot of adjustment on the rails if you're so inclined. So I rode with that. First trip I did over on the Greenbrier River Trail, I rode from Marlinton up to Cass, West Virginia. It's like 30 miles from Marlinton to Cass. So when I came back to Marlinton, the seat wasn't very comfortable. So I went into the bike shop in Marlinton, and they have a terrific bike shop over there if you ever get over that way. And I bought this Cell Royal looking in saddle, which is pretty heavy, and it's designed for a 60-degree lean, more upright to a 60-degree lean. And of course it has a plastic bottom. This saddle runs you, you can find them online for about 70 bucks. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. This saddle's okay, but I find if you're on the bike for any length of time, even with taking breaks, your sit bones tend to push into the saddle and it becomes uncomfortable. So I said, okay, well, what am I going to do now? I want something a little different, a little better. But I wasn't ready to commit to a leather Brooks saddle. I've had those before. In fact, I gave my son my old Cannondale that has that saddle on it, and his backside's the one that's broken that saddle in. So I started looking at the Cambium saddles, which is a rubber based saddle, and I checked the Cambium, or what they call the C17 model, which is a copy of the Brooks B17 leather. But it's got a cloth cover, some type of a cloth cover, and it's rubber, and it gives as you ride, kind of as a shock absorber. Which the Trek Verve 2 and 3 come with a suspension seat post. I do not like suspension seat posts. I've never had good luck with them because they compress and they wear out, and you can never get your saddle height set correctly. So going with a suspended seat post was just not an option for me. So I'm a big guy, I'm heavy, and it just wasn't an option. I've never had good luck with them. So I decided to purchase the Brooks C17. We'll take a look at it. I'm sorry, this is a C19. I decided to purchase the Brooks C19 saddle. That's what it looks like. It's designed for a more upright ride with a little bit of a lean, and if you press on it, you can see it flex. In this area here is where you want your sit bones to be, and I have found that it works really well. The C19 or Cambium saddles in general, they are weather resistant. With a Brooks leather saddle, you have to have a cover for it. You have to treat it with poofide, and it takes a long time to break it in, but they cannot be exposed to rain. Water is a very bad thing for those leather saddles, and it will damage them over time. So I decided to go with a Cambium 19 saddle. So far, it's been really good, really good. But I only had just a little while before winter hit to test it out. So it's still a work in progress. But that's what I did with the saddles. That's the changes I've made. And I'll explain a little bit of difference between this bike and your Trek Verve 2 and Trek Verve 3. The Trek Verve 2 comes with a suspension seat post. The stem on my bike is adjustable up and down, but not back and forth. You unscrew the set screw and raise it up or lower it. And you have to figure that out on your own as to what's comfortable for you. And of course, your handlebars can be adjusted backwards, forward by undoing those two bolts and rolling them. I prefer this type of stem because I don't like to have to undo a bolt here with an adjustable stem and raise it up and down. I kind of prefer the ones that's on there now. The other difference is you don't have mechanical brakes. On the Verve 1 and 2, you have hydraulic brakes. They come with Shimano, I believe, which takes a mineral oil for fluid. SRAM brakes have their own special type of oil. But I don't like that. I don't need it. They do work. They grab really hard, but you're supposed to change that fluid once a year. It's just like an automobile. It works off the pressure of the fluid. There's a cylinder. When you actuate your brake levers, the cylinder pushes that fluid down onto the caliper and squeezes the brake rotor. And I don't need that. It's more of a headache. I don't want to work on it. And it's not something that I need. That's just my opinion. My opinion only. They may work great for you, but I like something that I can work on should I have a problem out on the side of the trail. I have had flat tires with this bike. My rear one went flat out on a ride. I just took it off, replaced the tube. I don't patch tubes. You can if you want. I carry spare tubes with me. I just replaced it and pump it back up. I do carry an air pump. I carry a multi-tool with me whenever I ride. And easy. I don't have to worry about screwing the brakes up. You never want to squeeze them while the tire is off or while the rotor is off, because it's just like an automobile. You'll push the pistons out and then you've got to reset them before you can put it back on. But I just think it's easier. Nothing against the Trek Verve 2 or 3. It's just not something that I need. And then of course the fork was the main thing. I prefer steel over aluminum. That's just my personal preference. Kind of like why I like metal water bottles, which I've quit carrying. I've finally relented and gone back to plastic. But it's just a matter of preference. That's a very short rundown on my Verve. One other change I might make is going back to the chain rings. Like I said, the outer one is a 42 tooth. I find myself using the smaller chain ring more than I use the larger one, simply because I can run through the cassette easier with the type of riding that I do. But with the 30 tooth inner chain ring, which is more for climbing, it's very good. I find myself switching gears a lot. The larger chain ring, I don't use that as often because I like to stay down. When I use the larger one, I'm usually down in like gear 2 or 3, which you run the possibility of cross chaining your system, which is basically making the chain run at an angle, and that will put extra wear on the chain and the gearing. So what I'm thinking about doing is when I take it down to the shop for its 1-year checkup this month, in fact I'm taking it next week, I'm going to probably talk to them about putting a 36 tooth or 38 tooth chain ring in place of that 42, so I can use that. I may even look at, I don't know, probably the 36 or 38 is where I'm going to end up being. They do make them smaller, but I think that would be a good fit for me for the type of riding I do. The large chain ring that's on it right now, I very rarely ever use it. for the type of riding I do. But I would like to have something where I'm not shifting all the time, like I do with the smaller chain ring. But other than that, I think it's a pretty good bike. I don't think you could go wrong by buying one. For all the searching I had to do to find one, this one is a 2023 that the shop up in Gambrills, Maryland had not been able to sell for whatever reason. So I got it on a really good price, discounted price. And it was great because it's what I wanted. And they only had two. They had a blue one and a gray one. And it was what I wanted, so I got it. And I've been pretty happy with it. I don't think you can go wrong with one, if it be your choice. There are other bikes out there to look at, but I find it to be pretty good. Mine is an extra large because I'm 6'4", and I just needed an extra large frame. But they do make them all the way down. I believe the extra small. I'd have to check for sure, but I do believe they make them at least in a small, medium, and large and extra large. Extra small may be an option. I'd have to go back online and look. They also make a step-through model where you don't have a top tube at all. It's kind of supported down here, and you can just step through. That would be an awesome option for somebody with disabilities, but they don't make one in an extra large to fit me. So I ended up going with this one, and this one has worked really good. I hope it's helpful to you if you're thinking about a Trek Verve. I know I'm just sitting in here by my fire today, just blabbing away, telling you about the bike, and I get excited over the bikes. I like biking. I'm glad that I'm still able to do it, even though somewhat slower. Being 60 years old and having disabilities tends to, slow you down a little bit, but it doesn't have to slow you down completely. You get out there and you ride and take your time. But this is a good bike for that. It really is, and I would recommend it. And if you have any questions about the Verve, shoot me a message. I think my email is listed on my channel as well, but I'll reach back out to you and answer any questions you might have. If there's something you want to know about the bike, I'll be glad to answer that. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the spring and get out there and ride. I mean, even if you just ride right out of your front door, just get out there and ride. There's always some place to ride. There's always beauty to be seen, no matter where you live. So get out there and ride. I hope everybody has a good evening, and I hope that the rest of the winter is good for you. And we'll be praying for some weather to get out there and ride. Thank you again. God bless. And if nothing else, I'll see you in the spring.